They've come by bus. They've come by train to witness a history-making day in NASCAR racing. Fans filing in to Twin Ring Motegi to see the NASCAR Winston West Series champion crown. The first NASCAR championship decided outside of North America. The cars are ready. The fans are ready too for the Coca-Cola 500 at the mile-and-a-half Twin Ring Motegi, the NASCAR Winston West Series on Speed Vision. Hi, welcome to Speed Vision's coverage. Alan Bestwick here, along with Michael Waltrip and Stephen Cox. This mile-and-a-half Motegi racetrack, pretty tough little place.
Oh, it is that. It's not like any place these guys have ever been before. It offers two distinctively different corners.
Now, the man in the spotlight today is 29-year-old Sean Woodside of Saugus, California. Couple of track championships at the tight little Saugus Bull Ring to start his racing career, and moved to the Winston West Series in 1997 with instant results.
And now Woodside trying to shot block. Here comes Gumpelman on the inside. Oh, and Gumpelman's way loose. Here comes Woodside on the inside. He's going back to the lead.
Back-to-back runner-up finishes in the Winston West Championship. This year, he's taken a new ride to 2 wins. Comes into the season finale, needing only to finish 28th or better to clinch the title. Here's Stephen Cox.
Well, here's the man. In just a few hours, we're going to know who the champion is. Sean, at this point, is it yours to lose? And what's the strategy? How hard do you go?
We got to be smart. I mean, we can't give anything away. Napa Auto Parts Chevrolet, we didn't qualify as well as we wanted, but we're going to have a nice, safe run. When some cars drop out, we'll go race, and we're just going to try and get in a little groove here, kind of away from everybody else so nothing crazy happens, and we just want to walk out here with a championship like Napa deserves.
So Sean starting back 18th on the grid, and he'll be a little bit nervous in the opening laps of this race. Now let's move from the 18th starting spot up to the man who leads the field with the green flag, a name familiar to those of you who follow NASCAR racing, and that would be Mike Wallace. Now Mike has started 2 previous Winston West Series races this year. This one back in May at Pikes Peak. He started on the pole, but just 3 laps into the race found himself on pit road with a broken throttle linkage. Lost 2 laps getting repairs made, but came back, made up both laps, and picked up his 2nd win in 2 starts in 1999. The other, the race at Phoenix back earlier in the year. Let's go back down to pit road and hear from today's pole sitter, Mike Wallace.
He started on the pole, let's see, 2, 3, 4 tenths. It depends on when you looked at him, but he had the field covered from practice all the way through qualifying. What do you do for an encore? I mean, do you cruise for a while and see what happens?
Just try to win this race. You know, it's an honor to be here at Twin Ring Motegi, and being over here in Japan is the first time I've ever been out of the States. So the promotions here has been hospitable to us. It's been great, and I'd just like to win this race.
Mike Wallace has never seen Twin Ring Motegi before this weekend, Mike, but his experience on these big racetracks could be something of an advantage for him, I would think.
Yeah, that'll pay off, and plus the team. That car is racing the Winston Cup race. He ran Richmond with the car, and they've been competitive in all types of racing. The Truck Series, obviously, have won, and now they're looking good here at Motegi.
So Mike Wallace starting on the pole. Let's go down to the back end of the field now and talk to the man who'll start last in the race, Kevin Culver. Had his problems in qualifying the other day. Kevin, one of many drivers who backed into the fence in qualifying due to heavy damage to his car. Now, his crew worked at the racetrack as long and as hard as they could with the equipment and tools they had available to them, but just couldn't quite get the back end of that thing straightened out. So they loaded it up and took it down to a local frame shop here in Motegi. Got the proprietor to help him straighten it out, brought it back to the racetrack, finished it up, and managed to get it ready to go back into the race today. And the template even fit.
And they're still working on it, you know. The tail end of this car is still not up to par. Kevin, standing right beside me, first of all, tell me what you guys had to do and what kind of prospects, what kind of car are you going to have today?
Well, actually, I mean, an ugly car, obviously, but that's the least of my concerns. The car is scaled real well, strung real well, so mechanically and safety-wise, you know, the car is back to at least as good as it was prior to backing it and trying to knock the wall down in turn 4. You know, we had, you know, the car stepped out in qualifying. I couldn't catch it in time. I backed it into the wall. Pretty much from the back glass back, there was no rear clip. So at that point, I thought it was a container material. We'd put it in the box and spectate. Guys, when they found the Twin Ring Motegi, found an off-site repair shop that we took the car to last night on a rollback. And in 5 hours, we had a clip fabricated, so the structural part was done. And then today, it was just a matter of tending to the aesthetics and making sure that the car was pointed in the right direction. And here it is. I mean, if you would have told me yesterday I'd be in my driver's suit taking the green flag today, I would have told you it would have to be in some other car.
Evan Culver will start 30th and last on the grid. He was just one of a number of drivers who had problems in qualifying. We'll take a look at that as well as more on this difficult Twin Ring Motegi Oval. We come back in just a minute. Motegi and the Nascar Winston West Series Coca-Cola 500 on TV. Welcome back, getting ready for the green flag on this mile-and-a-half oval. Now, we heard earlier some of the drivers describing how difficult it is. Let's get our Michael Waltrip, who raced in the Winston Cup event at Motegi a year ago, to describe it further for us. And we watched the pole-winning lap of Mike Waller. Well, he mentioned in turn 1 here, Alan. This corner is straightforward. It's very wide, very sweeping. You can run down there so deep, it'll kind of flip you out if you go so far. And as you exit the turn, it's a very smooth, very wide exit to the corner. So everything's going smooth so far, and you're feeling pretty confident. But there's a problem. When you get down here to turn 3, the turn is a hairpin. I mean, he's on the brakes right here. I'm going to bet he's going from 4th to 3rd gear, shifting down as he enters this turn. And as you exit, it's very tight. It's hard to get a hold. Oh, look at there. See, Mike Wallace getting sideways. It's very hard to get off that corner without breaking the car loose. That's the pole-winning lap of Mike Wallace, despite that bobble up there in turn number 4. So shifting, different shaped corners, and very deceiving where speed is concerned are some of the big issues there. Let's hear some of the other drivers' thoughts that are in today's race on Twin Ring Motegi.
You know, it's a mile-and-a-half super speedway, but we don't run anything in the United States that's similar to this, because, well, maybe Cup, but here in the West, we don't. Turns 1 and 2 are just a fast, sweeping turn that you can really drive it in hard and get on it early and go fast, and you go into 3 and 4, you got to slam on the brakes, get the car turned, and try to get off as good as you can off of 4 to have a good lap. And you have a tendency to overdrive it. You push up, and it's kind of tough. So it's just adapting to it, but it's a great track. It's real smooth, and I mean, it's one of the nicest tracks we've run.
This track reminds me a little bit of Phoenix. Phoenix has 2 different type of turns, one flat, one banked, and I like it when you actually have to work in the car. When you're sitting there turning left, it's not a lot of fun. I got an overdrive transmission, so I'm shifting as I'm driving, and one turn's real tough. You know, you got to slow it way down and turn it, and the other turn's really wide open. You know, and it's a lot of fun because you actually have 2 different things to do. It's not a track where each turn's the same and you're just turning left. And you have a lot of stuff you got to do here. You got to stop that thing in turn 3, downshift it, whoa it down, get going, shift it on the front straightaway, and then still go hauling into turn 1. And it makes it a lot more fun when it's like this. And the track here, it's really smooth. You know, it's just like a Vegas place where there's not many bumps on it. Nice and smooth, really great track, and they did a great job.
It's kind of tough over here. We don't have any lines on the racetrack, so it's hard to tell where you're at on the racetrack. So, beautiful place. I mean, just good racetrack. I base it off of St. Louis. It's a pretty tough place. 1 and 2 remind me a lot of 1 and 2 at Homestead. You can carry a lot of speed through there. You know, it's really one of the places where the harder you get after it, the faster you'll run. But 3 and 4 is just the opposite. I mean, you get down there and it's real tight and real deceiving. You get in there a lot deeper than you feel like you can, and you'll be in trouble in a minute.
Speaking of trouble down in turn 3, this is qualifying in Sammy Potashnik's run yesterday.
Usually the car wants to push out right there, but that one got loose with him.
Wow, he hit a ton, too.
Sure did.
Get another look at that, and we've talked already a couple of times of just how deceiving the speed is at this particular racetrack. Here he is again into turn 3, trying to get a good qualifying run.
That's a flat left side hit, too, Alan. Those things are tough.
And it is going to leave a mark. We will talk more about Sammy Potashnik. He was injured in that crash slightly, though he will be in the race today. We'll talk with him in just a moment, find out more on that. Now, another driver who had a lot of trouble in qualifying was Hideo Fukuyama, one of the Japanese drivers. Opposite end of the racetrack, turns 1 and 2. Check this out.
You could see the car as he entered the turn. It just really never took the set. It just got loose with him and backed it into the wall hard and full of gas, obviously, for qualifying, and broke out to a little fire there.
Vicious hit there for Fukuyama, who does bail out of the car, as you'll see here in just a second. But boy, he hit a ton. Look at the back end of that machine, just all mangled up underneath the car.
That's less of a blow than the wreck we saw just before that, obviously.
And Sammy's really?
Yeah, it hurts a lot less. When you hit flat left-sided, that's just it knocks the sense out of you. But when you back her in, there's a lot more to give back there, and it absorbs the impact for you. So Hideo didn't quite have the impact that Sammy had.
Still was pretty significant, though, and a big hit there down in turn 1. You see the flames erupting from the car, but he did climb from it, as you saw, and will be in the race today in the backup car. There's what was left of Fukuyama's original car after the accident in qualifying yesterday. So those were some of the difficulties of drivers that we saw trying to get into the field. There were a couple of more accidents in practice as well. Here's Austin Cameron getting strapped into his machine. He is second in points coming into this race. He will start from the third position, and there are the championship standings. Notice Sean Woodside with a pretty good gap back to Austin Cameron, but second to third. In fact, second all the way down, pretty tight. Let's hear from the second and third place drivers now.
And here they are, second and third place, chasing each other and chasing Sean Woodside for the points title. Now, you've got this push-pull thing going. Sean's almost out of reach, and you got a guy 2 points off your tail. What are the pressures that accompany that, Austin?
Well, it's pretty rough. You know, Woodside's got quite a lead, and he's got to have a really rough day for us to have a shot at the championship, and we got to win it, you know, so. I'm more worried about Joe Bean being behind me, only a couple points behind me, and I'd really like to get a nice solid finish at this racetrack. We've been really confident when we got here and had the experience from coming here last year, and we're just here to do a really good job and finish right up front, and hopefully that's in front of Joe Bean.
Now, the trouble is Joe starts a number of rows behind Austin, so that puts a little pressure on you. Do you try to chase him down early and then stay with him for the rest of the day, or what's the strategy?
No, I'll tell you, Austin's running awful tough. He's an awful good race car driver, and I'm real proud to have raced with him. And he's going to be tough to catch. We're just going to hang in there for 150 laps and capitalize on his mistakes. But
and Alan, one thing to remember: if something happens to Sean Woodside in the early going of this contest, guess what? This is your points championship race.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, Woodside 109 points up on Cameron, who has another 2 points on Joe Bean. Got a great rookie fight as well in this last Winston West Series race of the season. Just 2 points between Jason Small and Sammy Potashnik. We saw the big Potashnik crash in qualifying. Let's find out more on his condition and this rookie fight heading into today's race.
This is not what Sammy Potashnik had in mind when he thought, man, I got a chance to run for the rookie points title. He's got a broken foot to go with it, a torn-up race car. Sammy, seriously, how much of a challenge can you mount?
Well, I've got a pretty good car here in this Taurus. I actually drive a Chevrolet Monte Carlo, and I've had to rent a Taurus from Butch Gilliland Racing, and I don't know. I'm going to have to feel it out. I fractured my left foot, and I'm going to have to feel out the car. I made 2 laps in it at half speed, and I'm starting 28th. I'm going to go out and just try to run the 200 laps without having to get out of the car.
Well, one guy that can hopefully have a lot of fun today is Jason. Did you ever think that, man, I'm going to be halfway across the world in a history-making race? Here I am leading the rookie points battle.
No, I never did. You know, this is my dream. We've been working really hard. You know, my team, Small Motorsports, they've just been working their tails off and, you know, making my job a little bit easier. Sammy's a great driver, and, you know, he's one of my good friends now, and I'm glad to see it come down to this.
Now, we talked about shifting earlier in the show, and obviously it's going to be a big, big consideration, especially for this guy. How do you shift when you got a broken foot?
So the championship to be decided, the rookie battle as well. Now it's time to get things cranked up. Just as in America, a corporate dignitary gets the honors.
Gentlemen, start your engine.
Oh, yeah. Gentlemen, start your engines is what he said.
I appreciate your interpretation. It is ready to go. The Coca-Cola 500 for the Nascar Winston West Series at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Speed Vision ready to bring you coverage. Stay with us. It should be a good one. We're on the racetrack. Let's take a look at the starting lineup. Mike Wallace is on the pole alongside Las Vegas driver Brendan Gaughan, who starts second. Row 2, California's Austin Cameron, second in the championship standings, and Texan Eric Norris. Row 3, one of 3 Japanese drivers in the field. Orito starting in the 5th position alongside Colorado veteran John Metcalf. 4th row, Scott Gaylord of Colorado, and Jason Small, Rookie of the Year leader. He starts 8th. Row 5, Japanese star Keiji Toshiya finished second in the Le Mans 24-hour race this year. Be a lot of camera time for him today from the Japanese TV crew. He is one of their big Japanese racing heroes. Rest of the starting lineup, you see Mike Chase, the 94 champion, in 12th position. Sean Woodside trying to lock up this year's championship back in 18th. Fukuyama in 21st, and Potashnik in 28th will drop to the rear on the pace laps. They're in backup cars.
We talked earlier, there's a great rookie of the year battle, a great championship battle as well to be decided today, but also the manufacturer's title is up for bids too, and out of the top 10 cars, 5 are Fords and 5 are Chevys.
Ford leads that manufacturer's title by 1 point, entering this final race of the 1999 Winston West season. So we're set to go. 201 laps Around this mile-and-a-half twin ring, Motegi, Mike Wallace, and Brendan Gaughan lead the field down to the green flag to start the Coca-Cola 500. Through the first couple of corners, Mike Wallace jumps into the lead. Here's Cameron down to the inside of Gaughan for second on the backstretch.
They head down in turn 3 here, and that's when the shifting begins. Like we talked about earlier, they're starting to try to figure out whether they want to use third or fourth. Or a lot of times the gearing is so close, they can do it either way, Alan. If they get a good run off the turn and they don't want to shift, then that's fine too. Also see this long front straightaway. Guys really on different agendas. The way they work off that fourth turn will dictate how fast they can run down the front straightaway. So as you see guys diving out halfway down the straightaway, that means they got a better run off four than the guy in front of them.
Wallace, left of your screen, the race leader. There is one of the Japanese drivers in the field, Manabu, Orido.
Easy for you to say.
I've heard his name said several different ways. We'll just go with Orido. And there's Toshiya in the 87 car. I mentioned we're going to see a lot of him today. No doubt the Fuji TV crew is going to spend a lot of time on their big Japanese racing hero as he tries to do his best with the Nascar Winston West Series drivers. Oh, Orido's in trouble. Turn 1 into the outside wall.
That's going to pretty much end his TV time for there. I don't know. He looks like he might have survived it, but those sparks from underneath means there's some damage to the right front of that car.
It can't be good. 31-year-old Manabu Orido. I think I got it right that time.
Sounds good when you say that, Alan.
Yokohama, Japan. In his second Winston West race, he came over to the United States and ran one to try and get a feel for it. He has not gotten a good feel for it today as the caution is out for the first time just a couple of laps in. Looks a lot worse when you see it from that angle, huh? So, yellow flag. Faceted Motorsports Complex, the driver training facility, is part of the setup here. There's a go-kart track for kids of all ages, a dirt track with bikes, ATVs, and midgets, and all kinds of different things at Twin Ring Motegi, a couple of 100 miles north of Tokyo. There you look at the dirt track. We've seen those kind of cars before here in the United States, I believe.
Sprint car racing is extremely popular in Japan.
There are the midget cars, all covered up and ready to go. But today is the NASCAR Winston West Series and the Coca-Cola 500, which is under caution just a few laps into the event. Caution brought out for a problem for one of the Japanese drivers in the field, Orido, who got into the wall in turn number 1. Let's go down and cover his stop as you see him come to a halt in the pit. Pretty significant damage to the right front corner of the machine. Stephen Cox on pit lane for us with the call on the Orido stop.
Manabu Orido, the fastest Japanese qualifier in the field, out very, very early in this contest, at least until proper repairs are made. You can see the crew working on the right side of the car. The problem they're having right now is they can't get the jack underneath the right side of the car. So you guys can probably see better from the booth than I can. They're actually working over there trying to get the car jacked up as quickly as possible. Heavy damage to the right side. We see on my side a lot of water coming out from underneath the radio. So Manabu has some big, big problems with the radiator in the front of this car.
It's not good.
No, it's not.
Safe to say.
We saw the right front tire wasn't spinning when he came in the pit, and that's just the beginning of the problem. And you see some damage there on the Gaylord's car. He and Manabu get together, you think, precipitate that accident?
Here's the third place driver in the championship, Joe Bean, also on pit road with some problems here in the early going. So that's not good for him, as he is going to drop well behind Austin Cameron, who runs second on the racetrack at the moment. So Joe Bean's efforts to take that second spot away in the championship damaged here in this opening lap scrum at Motegi. Let's go back to pit road and see if we can find out more on the Joe Bean problem.
Well, Mark, with Joe Bean's crew, you guys made 2 stops in a row. What happened to Joe?
First stop, we got a brake check, hit the front end, had to put the hood pins back in, pull the nose back out. We did a fuel stop, and the probe stuck inside. So we had to pull the seal back out on the second stop. Got it back out, we're okay. Gonna win it.
All right, confidence there on the part of Joe Bean's crew, and here is the Orido car.
Not going to win it.
Not going to win.
That car is in trouble. That out, huh? Yeah, right on top of this field.
So he goes behind the wall, which is important for Sean Woodside. because in the 30-car field, he only needs 2 to fall out before he is assured of winning the Winston West Championship. Time to go back racing. Mike Wallace leads Austin Cameron. Restart here at lap number 8.
Restarts, you can see down this and shift back there, a little bit of smoke out the tailpipes. Restarts are so tough on these racetracks because of the gearing, like we talked about. Usually you have 4 speeds. Basically, they're down to just 3 today because 1 is an overdrive.
Wallace and Cameron putting a little bit of distance on Brendan Gaughan, the third-place runner.
Cameron looked like he had a notion as he shot down into turn 1 to grab the lead away from Mike Wallace, but as he head to 3 there, Mike's car was working real well, and he was able to put a little distance between he and the second-place runner.
Brendan Gaughan sliding wide off of turn number 4, and is going to feel a challenge for that position. Down to the inside, here's the Rookie of the Year leader, Jason Small, trying to get the 3rd spot away, followed by the Japanese driver Toshiya in the purple and yellow car, the number 87.
Good battling here early in the going. Those 2 leaders work up off turn 4 and head down the front straightaway.
We'll put them on the back straightaway, but that's okay.
Ever since I was there last year, I felt like I'd really have a good feeling for the track, but it doesn't seem to be working out early in the going, but
that's okay. Terrific racing farther back in the field.
Wow, look at all the different lines we see in the corner. Like we said earlier, that 3rd turn is very difficult. You get in there too hard, the car wants to slide up. We saw guys all over the racetrack down there.
And Toshiya got around Jason Small to put Toshiya up to the 4th spot. He's going to try and get 3rd away from Brendan Gaughan here. This is off turn 2.
Man, he is moving. That's one of the fastest cars in the early going year of the race. You don't see guys making moves like that every lap, but he's getting it done.
Toshiya by Gaughan into 3rd. 43-year-old from Nagano, Japan. He has run Le Mans the last 6 straight years, finishing 2nd in '99. He's basically been a fixture in all of the NASCAR events over in Japan. The couple at Suzuka and the Winston Cup exhibition event here at Motegi a year ago.
Yeah, and if you didn't know better, you would think it was Dale Earnhardt walking through the drive here. He has a tremendous following. All the fans love this guy, and he's a lot of fun to talk to when what you can get out of him and understand, actually. But he is very popular and demands a lot of attention when he walks through the garage.
And obviously, he's got a pretty good race car here in the early going. Started in 9th position. He is up to 3rd after just the opening 7 or 8 laps.
Holding a nice line on the racetrack, too. Everywhere you look, every time you see that car, it's right where it needs to be, and he's moving up, making progress.
Brendan Gaughan, though, is his car obviously not handling as well. He's fallen back and is being challenged by Jason Small. This would be for the 4th and 5th positions.
Good battle early in the going, like we said.
Just underway in the Coca-Cola 500 for the NASCAR Winston West Series here in Motegi 500, where the Winston West Championship may have just been decided. Steven is on pit road with another driver out of the race.
Terry White-Hoon came all the way from Australia to enjoy the race here at Motegi. Tell me what happened. Why are you an early casualty?
Looks like we've done a motor. There appears to be a big hole in the side of the block there that's not supposed to be there. So, yeah, unfortunately, I mean, it's been a bit of a battle for us to even get here, and we're hoping we're going to finish the race. That was the objective, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Australian drivers in the race, and so that means with 2 cars out of the race, Sean Woodside can finish no worse than 28th, and he is the NASCAR Winston West Series champion.
That's a great feeling, and those guys have run well all year long. We've seen them real competitive. Something we need to look for, Alan, here as the race develops. This track is hard on engines. We talked earlier, one turn is smaller than or shorter than the other, and so you turn a lot of RPMs if you choose not to shift. And a lot of these guys, I suspect, won't be shifting. So it's kind of like Pocono. It reminds you of Pocono, where you see some engine failures because of the distinctively long straightaway on the front. The American fans will be able to relate to that. And we're able to see a lot of guys with some engine trouble today.
Watching the race for 3rd between Keiichi Toshiya and Brendan Gaughan. Those cars continuing to hammer it out for that position. Here's Gaughan down to the inside on the backstretch, and he'll make the move as they head into turn 3.
When they were running together earlier, Toshiya's car was very good on the bottom, and you can see it is there too. And Gaughan tends to want to push out. As the race has developed here, Gaughan might have taken the advantage of his setup and figured out a way to make it work on these turns.
All right, practice with me now. Toshiya. There you go. You're right on.
I thought I was just Toshiya, so you know, if I slip it in there on you, you wouldn't have noticed I even said it. But I guess I messed it up bad enough where you could tell, huh?
Keiichi Toshiya. I've been practicing all week for that. Guaranteed. Coming up quickly on the back of Austin Cameron, the 2nd place car. Here goes Brendan Gaughan by Cameron for 2nd, who appears to be off the pace down the bottom of the racetrack.
Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with that car. It's too early to really for us to tell from here whether it's a tire or if it's perhaps his engine. Maybe lost a cylinder or felt something that didn't feel right to him for sure.
Either way, he has lost second spot and will probably lose third in just a moment as Tushia moves up to his outside.
Whoa,
wow.
It didn't look like it was the engine. It come down the front straightaway strong. Must be something else amiss under with Austin's car.
So we'll get an update there. Maybe a tire problem, a slow leaker, something like that for Austin Cameron, but it has dropped him from second back to fourth, and he is also losing more ground as the fifth place car closes quickly on him.
You can definitely tell it's not the engine. That thing will go down the straightaway. He might have a vibration or something like that he's not comfortable with.
Caution's out. Caution flag on the speedway. Huge for Cameron, who needs to get the pit lane and figure out what's wrong with his car. This caution is for some debris that maybe has come from Butch Gilliland's car as he was slowed on the speedway.
Or maybe he's hungry. I think that the fans got some good food to eat.
The Coca-Cola 500 from Twin Ring
Motegi racetrack. You also see the Honda Collection Hall. The people here are very, very proud of the Honda factory, and for good reason. They put out motor vehicles for over 50 years, and a lot of them are right inside here. In 50 years of business, Honda has come out with an assortment of oddball vehicles, most of which never saw the light of day in the United States. They have that 1959 rototiller. This is not a moped. It's a three-wheeler. It's called a Honda Stream, and this little thing came out in 1981. It's called the Honda Moto Compo, whatever that means. Now, here are some things that you are going to recognize. In 1983, the Honda Civic was all over the roadways, and I know you've seen this one before, a 1976 Honda Accord, but have you seen one with these weird rearview mirrors? Well, everybody knows about Honda's rich racing heritage. Of course, it wasn't attained in that car. It was attained by running all over the world in Formula One competition. And they have two complete rows of Formula One cars driven by the likes of Nigel Mansell, Nelson Piquet. This car driven by Gerhard Berger and several more by Ayrton Senna. In fact, this room is a regular who's who of Formula One history. Well, it's not as big as the Formula One display, but you can actually see these cars race here at Twin Ring Motegi. These are kart champ cars. That one driven by Mike Groff. Of course, all are Honda powered. The one in the center driven by Andre Ribeiro just a few years ago. And do you remember those funny super speedway wings they used just a couple of years back? This car belonged to Alex Zanardi. He drove it in 1997. Eat your heart out, Dave Despain. There are a blue million motorcycles out here as well, but none quite so spectacular as this one, my favorite. It's a V6 engine in a Honda Valkyrie packed into a two-wheel package. You know, that motorcycle probably weighs more than this 1991 Honda Beat. Very small little car. I found my favorite, though, already. It's a 1994. It's an Acura NSX, very sexy sports car. In fact, I don't think they would miss it. I think I could go ahead and get away with taking it. The question is, how do I get it home? Is it carry-on, or do I check it?
Piece by piece in the suitcase. I think you might have some trouble with that, Stephen. Now, right behind the museum, there's something called the Honda Fun Lab, which, as you can see, there are no shortage of takers for. To go and play around with all kinds of different technology. Airplanes? I didn't know Honda made airplanes. I didn't either. It's experimental. That's why. Do not fly an experimental airplane if you can avoid it. Those look cool. Yeah.
Have a little bit of a race here, or up a shuttle.
Demo derby? No, that wouldn't be good. We'll come back with more in just a minute. Stay with us. 500 at Motegi was the chance for some of the Japanese NASCAR fans to go over the wall, take their best shot at a NASCAR-style pit stop. We may not recognize the writing, but we recognize the numbers and the equipment and sort of the technique.
That's not bad technique, pal. I like the way you hold on to that thing. Get the tire off.
Having a good time. That's what it's all about.
And they do. That Coca-Cola makes sure everybody has a great time when they come to Motegi.
Oh, there you go. The thrill of victory. So we continue under the caution flag in the Coca-Cola 500 at Twin Ring Motegi. And speaking of pit stops, here come the leaders except Tushia, who bypasses the opening of pit road and stays on the racetrack. Here come, though, Mike Wallace and Brendan Gaughan and Austin Cameron, really needed this shot at pit road. We saw him just before the caution flag, losing a number of positions, and we'll get a further update on what has happened to him here in just a moment. Pit stops coming at lap number 47 as Wallace and the other leaders come down to the attention of their crews. Stephen Cox will keep an eye on the race leader's service for us now from down on pit road.
Well, Mike Wallace certainly had the entire field covered so far as qualifying times go. Now it's their chance to prove what they can do in the pit. Very quickly, fresh right side rubber goes on the Ultra Wheels car. Left side rubber goes on at the same time. Now Brendan Gaughan has pitted just spaces behind Mike Wallace.
By a bunch. Brendan Gaughan continues to sit there, losing 5 or 6 positions on the pit lane. Remember we mentioned Tushia missed his pit stall? Listen into this.
We want left side. Bring them in different state. You want to come in already? Bring them in the pit now. Come on, get it out. Stay there.
Just made it onto the pit lane up the back of the screen. Little interpretation problem, maybe?
Yeah, I don't think we had that part covered in the pre-race chat or whatever. They didn't get him on pit road like he needed to, so he's in there now.
Sounded like basically too many people on the radio. An English-speaking crew chief trying to talk to an interpreter who has to talk to the driver, and with everybody with push-to-talk buttons, that can complicate things a good bit.
And it's frustrating for the driver, too, because he has nobody. He doesn't have anybody to vent to. He's in the car by himself, and by the time the situation occurs, it's too late for him.
So Tushia back onto the racetrack, though he'll lose a lot of track position here by coming down the pit lane after all of the other leaders came in a few moments ago. Well, the race weekend activities in Motegi started on Thursday night with a big welcome party thrown by the folks at Twin Ring Motegi. Toshi Tezuka is the track president. He was the formal host for the evening's activities that included a ton of food.
Welcome to Japan.
We talked to Mr. Tezuka about why bring the Winston West Series to Japan.
我々大変危機感を持ってて、この下方トレンドを大きく。
So now at the moment here in Japan, it's quite popular to have European races, much more than American motorsports. And recently, there are not so many people coming over to see the races. So Twin Ring Motegi now thinks that they would like to have much more fans and people to interested car, especially American car race, which is something new for us, for Japanese people. And then, which is quite exciting races. That's also for the Japanese drivers, which can experience to do cars or Nascars, which until now they've never experienced, and also for Japanese fans to see or to come over to the race courses to enjoy all together.
You need an interpretation on that interpretation. The fans did turn out for a big autograph session held here earlier today to greet all the NASCAR Winston West Series drivers as they got ready to race in the Coca-Cola 500. Cleanup continues under the caution flag. We'll take a commercial break, come back with more racing in just a minute on Speed Vision. Running order is shuffled some in the Coca-Cola 500 in Motegi. You see Mike Chase is now the leader with the man who dominated the first 49 laps, Mike Wallace, back in 3rd position. Austin Cameron is in 4th. Let's go back and follow up on what happened that dropped him back in the pack earlier.
Well, Austin Cameron could not have had a yellow flag at a better time. The right rear tire is what they're looking at. It went flat. Now they're trying to find out where it went flat and why it went flat so it doesn't happen again. But I'll tell you, Austin got away with one.
Lucky break on that caution.
Yeah, we suspect that maybe had a tire problem in the case. Very seldom does it seem like the caution flies any more opportune than that would be for Austin. Maybe this is his day.
Green flag, we're back racing at lap 50. Mike Chase, who's out in front.
For the first time today, Mike Wallace is not leading the race, so we'll see what kind of horse he's got up underneath him, see what he can do with these cars that are ahead of him.
He's stuck in that big pile of traffic coming off of turn number 2 and up onto the back straightaway.
Oh, we're going to go 3 wide.
If you got the horse.
That'll be fun as we head to turn 3 that we talked about being very tight, having to shift gears.
And there's Tushia trying to come up through the traffic. Meantime, Mike Wallace all the way down the bottom of the racetrack. Thank you very much. I'll take second spot away if you don't mind.
Jason Small fighting back on the outside. You see Austin Cameron looking to the inside. These guys are feeling real racy here, little ways into the race.
Fresh tires, 50 laps in.
Looks a little racy. Time to go, isn't it?
Wow. Pinched in behind the car of Gary Smith was Mike Wallace coming up off of turn 2. So Small squirts out ahead of him, and here comes Austin Cameron to try and take the spot away from Wallace.
He's having none of that. He shoots it down into 3 hard. Ooh. Cameron makes a nice move up under the slower car of Smith.
Oh, and who's that? Wow, just jumping on the brakes in behind him. Caused a big traffic jam off the corner. Everybody got away okay. And you watch Jason Small trying to win the Rookie of the Year championship, holding off Mike Wallace.
Briefly, temporarily. Mike Wallace, if you just watch him drive this race car, he puts it exactly where you want it to go, every turn of the track. And you don't do that unless your car is cooperating with you. You need a good race car, and he's got one under him today. There's Tushia.
That car that we saw dropping back, that was Mike Chase. He's not the race leader anymore. Mike Wallace is. Remember I said somebody was jumping on the brakes off of turn 4? That was the race leader.
Well, he had such a big lead. I thought he just slipped out in the...
I thought he was off the frame, yeah. But no, he was slowing down. Here he is right here coming onto the pit lane. So Mike Chase goes from leading to pit road here in the space of 2 laps. And now it is Mike Wallace leading, Jason Small running second, and Brendan Gaughan running third, left to right on your screen.
A very impressive run by Small. He's battling for the Rookie of the Year battle like we talked earlier, and looks like he's serious about it. Sammy had some trouble qualifying, and he's taking full advantage of that.
There's Mike Chase behind the wall. Not a good sign. The man who was leading the race just a couple of laps ago came down the pit road in an absolute cloud of smoke a few seconds ago, and kind of an ugly sound emitting from his race car. Listen. Not good. Steven is with Mike Chase now.
Mike, can you tell me what happened to the car?
Yeah, it looks like a rod broke in the motor is what it feels like right now. They're going to look at it. It's a shame, you know, the people for Drug Chevrolet was doing the job it was supposed to do, but, you know, it's a shame, you know. It's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity to be back here to Japan, and, you know, I hope we get to come back again, and I really appreciate everything the Japanese people done. So there you go. We'll be back. Thanks.
Mike Chase, the 6th driver out of the race already. Let's add Bobby Donner to that list and make it number 7 as the Chicago native gets pushed behind the wall with an apparent engine failure on his car. 61 laps in, Mike Wallace continues to be the dominator of the Coca-Cola 500 for the NASCAR Winston West Series at Twin Ring Motegi in Japan. Just like they do at most American super speedways, all the usual NASCAR collectibles and apparel on sale. And the Japanese consumers are takers. Hey, who's that? Who's
Michael
that?
Wapsis. Michael Wapsis. That's his favorite driver.
You know how to pronounce your name in Japanese?
No. Nor do I know how to pronounce Tushehu's name either, but I'm working on it.
Thank you very much. Under the caution in the Coca-Cola 500 for the Winston West Series at Twin Ring Motegi in Motegi, Japan. This would be a caution for debris dropped by one of the several engines that have detonated here in the first half of this event. Here comes the pace car to the opening of pit lane, and the race leader, Mike Wallace, is going to choose to duck in. Mike has led all but a handful of laps in the opening portion of this event. He and Brendan Gaughan, the top 2, coming down the pit lane, getting for their second round of service on their cars. As you see, most all the lead lap machines coming in here for this visit at lap number 74.
Kevin Richards was one guy that decided to stay on the track.
Here is Sean Woodside, locked up the Winston West Series Championship for 1999 earlier when the first and second cars that fell out of the race went by the wayside. So now all he's got left to do is take the checkered flag and pick up the trophy.
Yeah, and they decided to go to work on this car. He's taken, looks like he's lowering the track bar in the back, plus he's taken some wedge out of the thing, or put some wedge in the thing. So it must be a little bit loose with him. He's decided to adjust on it and maybe get serious about this race. He's kind of held back early in the going like he said he would, and now he's ready to go race.
Leaders head back onto the speedway after their stops. Let's follow up on the top couple of cars and what work was done on their machines. First to Mike Wallace's pit.
Jim Brewer, you guys have appeared to have a very dominant car all day. What's Mike telling you about it?
This car's pretty good right now. You know, those other guys pretty tough. I mean, it's just one of those deals. We've had a couple of pretty bad pit stops, and Mike, he makes up a lot for us. But it's still going to be a pretty good race. You know, it's not even halfway yet. So we're just going to sit here and play it by ear and see how things go.
Does he have more if he needs it?
Sir?
Does he have more if he needs it?
I'm sure everybody out there's got more if they need it. How much is the question?
Tim Brewer, the wily veteran, Winston Cup crew chief, calling the shots for Mike Wallace today. One of those who has chased Mike throughout the day is Brendan Gaughan. He started on the outside of the front row. Let's get an update on him.
Jim Bennison, you guys have looked really good all day. Now, I talked with Brendan after the last practice, and he said, we have not even come close to showing our hand yet. Have you showed us your hand so far in this race?
No, right now we made a tire adjustment on our first pit stop, and we went a little too far, so we got another adjustment on our next set of tires that we should be able to go catch the two cars.
Can you go the distance with one more stop?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure yet. Depends on when the next caution comes, and then we'll know.
Hedge it a little bit there on fuel to the finish if everybody can make it on one more stop. It's kind of like he and Brewer listen to each other. They didn't want to give out too much information, you know? Yes, of course we've got more left. How much more? I'm not going to tell you. Thank you very much. All right, let's go back racing. Getting ready for the green at lap number 77. Mike Wallace is the leader. Haven't called Eric Norris's name much. He is running in second, followed by Brendan Gaughan, Scott Gaylord, and Steve Portingay. Those are your top five in that left-hand outside lane as the green flag waves again. Shuffle down into turn one here. Alan, we heard the crew chief Dennison there talking about they've made some tire adjustments on the car. What they do is adjust the air pressure. Along with the physical adjustments we saw on the car itself, they change the pressures of the tires, and that also affects the way the things handle. So every pit stop, whether you see them do something to the car outside of it or not, they've done something to it more often than not with the tire pressure. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, this is not going to be fun in turn three. Wow, wait. And they made it. Did. Wow. I'd have put some money on that one. Not coming out the other side. That was close. The bright orange car there, that's Austin Cameron. He started in third position. He's trying to hold on to second in the championship standings. There's Keiichi Tsuchiya, Japanese driver, who started the race in ninth position in the 87 car, trying to make his way back toward the front. Kevin Richards in that 85 car, and Tsuchiya making a little sandwich around the Kevin Carver machine. Yeah, if they had seen that, maybe they didn't see that car Friday afternoon. Yeah, maybe. They'd be a little more careful if they had it. There goes Woodside up on the outside of the Carver car, and Tsuchiya is right behind. How to do that, Tom? You better move closer. Hey, these guys have proven me one thing. When I was over there, I thought this was a one groove track, maybe two. They've proven it's more like 4 or 5. They get to the corner, they go every which way and make it work and make ground doing it. So it's pretty impressive. Right on the outside is Tsuchiya. Tsuchiya. Around the car of Kevin Richards, and right up on the outside of Sean Woodside. That thing get loose and pop off the corner. Pretty good race for position here. As Richards gets the move underneath Woodside now into turn number 3. Slides him up the racetrack. Here comes Tsuchiya down low. 3 wide off of turn 4. Wow, that's 3 good race cars. Do you see who they're following? They're following Kevin Carver. I mean, I'd like to get the number of that repair stop they got over there. I could use it. Carver is a lap down. Oh, well, he's not on the lead lap. But he's looking good. Still impressive. Richards up underneath Woodside. Off turn 2. This is for the 12th position, these two drivers racing. And Culver's hanging right in there. Just joining us, he wrecked his car in Thursday practice. They took it to a repair shop off the premises. Thought he was fixing to wreck it again. Yeah, completely rebuilt the back end of the machine. The paint isn't really paint. It's all 200-mile-an-hour tape in the back end of that machine. I think the crew chief just got through to Tsushiya's interpreter and said, hey, enough of this. Let's take it easy. I've seen this movie before. Yeah. It doesn't have a happy ending. It usually ends up with that back bumper stuffed up to about the back of the rear windshield. And some great racing back in the pack. This is what NASCAR racing is all about, and I think that's why the Japanese fans enjoy it so much. They like seeing these cars running all over each other. Kind of of took a little while for this one to settle itself out. Now that it has, we get to some of that good racing. But the dominant theme throughout the first half of the race so far has been this man, Mike Wallace. Basically, with the exception of a couple of laps, he has been the man in the lead from the top of the green flag. Got a pretty nice lead right now, too. And we see the second place car in the parade. It is Mike Wallace leading Brendan Gaughan in the series at Twin Ring Motegi. In Motegi, Japan, it's just past halfway in the race, and Mike Wallace is the race leader. You look at him there. In the number 2 car, he has been the dominant driver out in front for all but a handful of laps through the first 100 miles of this event. First 150 miles of this event, actually. And you see the interval from Mike back to second place, Brendan Gaughan.
Then there's racing Chevy there. We talked earlier about the manufacturers battle. Ford came into the event leading it, and right now they're leading the race, so everything's status quo there.
Gaughan just ahead of the third place driver, Scott Gaylord. You see the two of them there racing for second and third position. Brendan Gaughan, a 24-year-old from Las Vegas. His background primarily in off-road racing for several years. Though he has been on the Nascar Winston West circuit now for a couple of years. He's finished in the top 3 in 2 of the last 3 races this season.
You talked about a comfortable lead for Mike Wallace. It appeared to me as if it strengthened a little bit. Last time by, it looks like these two here had drafted up on Mike. And, you know, this is a track big enough to where drafting is a factor. If you're running behind somebody, it's going to increase your straightaway speed. And these guys are got a nice line there. Maybe they can drag up on Mike.
Scott Gaylord started in 7th position. He has moved up to the 3rd spot now. His 85th career Winston West start. He was the 98th most popular driver in the series. And he is trying to get 2nd spot away from Brendan Gaughan, who pushes a little bit wide in turn 2.
That kind of appeared to me like it's been tight all day long. He gets tight, got tight off the turn there, and he's pushed up. Gaylord's going to make a move on him.
Here he comes. Couldn't quite get it done.
Not going to happen.
Did I see some damage to the front of Gaylord's car? Remember we had him on pit road in the early going, and it looks like he's got one of the grill sections punched in a little bit.
I think that was in the Orito wreck.
Yeah, there it is. The left front corner of the car. Obviously, it's not affecting his handling too drastically in a bad way.
No, they did a nice job tucking it back up. But again, like I said earlier, if his car is damaged at all, it's going to run a little quicker behind the 20. Keeping that air off the nose. But he doesn't have any desire to stay behind the 20.
I know he doesn't. Trying to get 2nd spot away, but here comes Brendan Gaughan down the backstretch, looking like he's just got a little more horsepower or gearing or something.
Look at him slide way up the hill there. And then Gaylord cuts it right down on the bottom. That should be a quicker line off the turn. And it is.
Wow, how about that?
These two guys battling each other have obviously lost some ground to Mike Wallace as well. We saw him closing in on him. Now that's kind of gone away somewhat. Mike's driving off turn 2 there.
So Scott Gaylord to 2nd, Brendan Gaughan back to 3rd. They come up to the outside of the Gary Smith car, the British Columbia, Canada driver, who has been off the pace somewhat in today's race after starting back in the 25th position. And they'll put him another lap in arrears.
Gary's usually really competitive. Having a bad day today. Those two cars right there have settled their battle. Gaylord's in 2nd. Over
Brendan Gaughan.
As a hit into 1.
There you go.
I meant to say over the start-finish line, but it was Brendan Gaughan.
That's okay. Let's look a little bit farther back. This is a race for 12th. The 09 car, the blue and white machine on the outside, is Andy Houston. And trying to get the spot away from him, there's our old friend Tushia once again.
He's racing up on the Speed Vision car. That's a good idea. He knew Speed Vision was going to have this on TV, so he's trying to hang around with him.
Tushia started the race in 9th spot. A little miscommunication with the crew on the opening pit stop. Found him coming in a lap later than the leaders. It dropped him back in the field. And he has been trying to make that deficit up since then. Hello. Andy Houston says, you want to come on by? Oh, no, he doesn't either.
He's saying, this is how we race in the truck.
Yeah.
Somebody gets near us, we swerve at him.
You wide. In 4, here comes Tushia down to the bottom. Can't quite hook it up there.
I'm not impressed with Tushia today, though. Man, he's run a good race. He's been real competitive all day.
You know, in all 4 of the races that have been held in Japan now, including the 3 Winston Cup exhibition races that he has run in the last 3 years, I've heard nothing but good things about him. A little on the aggressive side when he's on the racetrack, but not wild.
No, he's not wild
aggressive,
at all.
but not wild.
I I heard a lot of things about him, too. I just didn't know who they were talking about because I didn't know what his name was. But he's by far the most popular Japanese driver, and can certainly, when he gets down in the seat of the race car, can get the job done, as you can see here. That's a good race car driver there, Andy Houston. He's tracking closely.
Still racing for 12th position. Andy Houston for now holding off Keiichi Tsuchiya for that spot. And the Japanese TV cameras keeping a careful eye on their hero, and we've said that a couple of times, but that's not anything surprising to us. He's run well. He's just been set back by that little miscommunication getting to pit road. Let's go back up front. We've had a change for the lead. Scott Gaylord has slipped underneath Mike Wallace and taken over the top spot.
But Wallace didn't have any of that. He paddles right back to the bottom of the racetrack and puts his car back out in front again.
So Gaylord leads at lap 119, quickly gives it back up to Mike Wallace. And Gaylord is slowing in turn 4 onto the apron of the racetrack, coming to pit road. We heard he had a scheduled stop coming up here shortly. Now here he is on the pit lane at lap 120.
And the big question will be, does he do 2 or 4? Under green here, the tires hold up really well. It's not an abrasive racetrack. Goodyear brought a real competitive tire, runs good on the long run. So it'll be a call that the team will have to make, but it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Scott Gaylord in for service with 81 laps to go in this race on this mile-and-a-half track. We watch his crew going to work on the right side of the machine. A little trouble there in the right front, getting one of the lug nuts off.
They got the tires out. The left sides are over the wall like they're going to do 4 tires, but sometimes the teams do this to kind of trick people.
Yep, there he goes, 2 tires.
Off he went. It was a good trick. I thought they were going for 4. It looked like the left rear guy was coming around the
They thought they were going for 4 too, and somebody overruled. They had trouble on that right front.
Maybe that had to do something with it.
So, you know, it's under the green. You can only take a chance on losing so much ground to the leader before you have to cut your losses and get back out on the speedway.
I believe these 2 tires will work for him, though. I don't think that'll be a problem.
Now, he has gone a lap down to Mike Wallace, so Mike's still yet to make another visit to pit road at some point between here and the checkered flag. And here you look at Mike as he comes off of turn number 4 and down to complete 1 more lap.
You think, Gaylord was kind of sizing Wallace up? He ran him down from a distance and actually passed him, got the lead, and then shot to pit road. So just timing or...
Well, we'll find out. It is Mike Wallace leading after 121 of 201 laps in the Coca-Cola. Continuing, Scott Gaylord in a moment ago. This is John Metcalf on the pit lane getting service on the Remax machine.
Yeah, this is nervous time, Alan. All these guys making these green flag pit stops. We talked about a lot of engine failures. You just hope and pray that everybody gets done making their pit stops before there is a cost.
Rick Corelli calling the shots on the Metcalf car today. Good to see him back at the racetrack. Here's our pal Tsuchiya coming down the pit lane. Second visit to the pit road this time. Looks like the communication to get him in on pit lane went a little bit smoother this time.
He's in the pit. The pit crews are doing a smooth job with this stop, too. Oh, spoke a little bit too soon to drop the jack a little quick.
And going to lose some time putting it back up. Let me hear you say it.
Tsuchiya. I'm just like my dad. I can tell him something and he'll repeat it wrong every time.
Something more wrong here than just the tires and the car falling off the jack soon. There is apparently a mechanical problem cropping up on the car as he has not pulled away from the pit road, and here come the hood pins.
We didn't see any smoke, no indication that there was a problem. I wonder what's going on.
Concrete pit lane, sometimes when you drop the clutch and try and...
We've seen that in the United States with those types of pit stalls. Maybe he broke a gear.
Here are the leaders on pit road. Mike Wallace and Brendan Gaughan coming down the pit lane. Let's go down to pit road. Stephen Cox to call the race leaders stops for us.
Tim Brewer says that Mike Wallace's car is perfect. They will make no adjustments whatsoever. That is not the case with a 20 car, the Orleans car of Brendan Gaughan. They're going to take right side tires only. This was made before they ever came in. They said we're going to do it under green. We're going to change right side tires only. They did make an air pressure adjustment, and Brendan just about killed the engine, and he still gets out in time to get out ahead of Mike Wallace.
Not a whole lot of difference in track separation. As you see Mike Wallace leaving now. Brendan left a second ago. That's probably 10, 15 car lengths, maybe more than that, but not a lot. And those 4 fresh tires, I bet you, will overcome the 2.
Brendan made a mistake.
He did. He dropped the clutch and just didn't have it revved up enough. And the thing about choked out, like you pointed to earlier, those concrete pit stalls, you don't get any tire slippage. Whatever you let when you let the jack or let the clutch out, the car goes. And if you don't have enough gas, it'll stall the motor.
Well, the Japanese fans' hero is done for the day. Tsuchiya going behind the wall. Caution is on the speedway. Ooh. Caution in the middle of the green flag pit stops. The caution is for debris on the back straightaway.
We talked about that, some nerve-wracking time. You saw Mike Wallace in the pit. Earlier, Scott Gaylord made his stop. He was the one that was really hoping the caution wouldn't fly until all those guys had pitted.
Here's the man who has not stopped among the lead lap cars, Kevin Richards, Spokane, Washington driver, former champion crew chief on the Nascar Raybestos Northwest Tour. Got himself behind the wheel a couple of years ago. Doing very well.
But that's racing, and this is what we love to do, and I wouldn't trade it. Next year, hopefully, we're back again, because I'd love to do it, because it's such a great facility, and everybody's treated us so well. So, you know, you do it, and as you're doing it, you're going, what the heck? But you get here, and you start racing, and it's all worthwhile.
Most fun thing is basically I never really had a chance except for last year to get this far out of America, and it was a lot of fun. You know, I went to go on the East Coast, which was far away from my home in Vegas, but coming all the way over here, it's a whole other world. This is kind of fun to come over here and get to see, you know, the way that the whole other culture is.
You know, I tell you, the one thing that I was really shocked about, these people here will go beyond the call of duty to take care of you. I mean, they really, whatever they can do to help you, it's like it's an honor for them to be able to help you do something. And I think the biggest challenge for me has been, you know, kind of a funny story, but I got an inner ear infection, and I went over to the medical center yesterday, and it was kind of hard to translate a pain and in my ear and stuff like that, but you know, they had some translators there and stuff like that, but the language barrier is the biggest thing. But everywhere we seem to go, I mean, you have people that'll break their back to help you.
All the people here have just been wonderful, but the worst experience, I would say, is the bus ride from Tokyo to here to the racetrack. It was about a 3-hour bus ride, and if people hadn't experienced Japan, the roads are quite a bit different than they are back home, and just real narrow, and nobody really acts like they're in any big hurry to get anywhere, but I would say that was probably the hardest part of the trip, but all in all, it's been a lot of fun, and just real fortunate to get the opportunity to come over here and race.
And you keep thinking that somebody's going to hit you head on because they're on the wrong side.
Well, definitely, and you know, you turn a corner, and I'm like thinking this bus driver needs to get on the other side of the road, you know what I'm saying? It's just quite a bit different, and not only that, I mean, a lot of things are done different, and not necessarily wrong, I mean, just different, and it's just been a lot of fun.
Look for left side tires only this time for Brendan Gaughan. Now, they took on right side rubber already. They made some air pressure adjustments, which is a good sign. Once you're past wedge and past spring rubbers and you're down to minor fine tuning, that means you've got a very good race car. The problems, however, are much more. Mike Wallace, the number 2 car, is also into the pit area. They're looking for the hood. They don't know what they're looking for. They lost a little bit of power, and they had some smoke coming out. And the team owner moments ago said, guys, we don't even know what to check for.
So Mike Wallace, the man who's dominated this event, championship standings away in his final race of the year, but he was involved a little bit of subtle damage in a lap 3 crash and has been kind of playing catch-up all day.
And we're also talking about Brendan Gaughan getting the left side to the other 2 of the tires to get up the green flag to the side. So he's all set now on 2 tires with the other guy.
No question, though, the big story at this moment is the developing problems with the Mike Wallace car. He has been clearly the dominant car so far today, but the hood was just up. Stephen is with that car's owner down on pit road.
We heard some concern maybe about some smoke underneath the hood. Any ideas yet?
We have a motor problem. We're not sure what it is. We think maybe it's just a Volkswagen valve spring. If it is, I think we can still do just fine. We're going to keep an eye on it. We opened up the hood to see if it was something simple like some plug wires. They all seem to be on, so we're switching ignition boxes right now, but we definitely have a small problem, but we're hoping maybe we can get through it.
Can you still win?
Well, if it doesn't get any worse, yes.
The key word there being if. They couldn't find a problem, so let's see what happens.
59 laps to go. Some question now among those 7 cars on the lead lap as to whether or not they have enough fuel to go to the finish. Let's hear from the crew chief of the 7th place runner, Eric Norris. Back to Stephen on pit road.
The question of the hour, do you have enough fuel to go the distance?
I'm going to have to dodge that question. Yeah, we do have enough to make it. The Jenny King 4 Taurus is running really good today. Eric's doing a super job out there. These guys are killer in the pits. We've got enough to do it. I just got to say, It's going to be close, but I think we can do it.
He didn't sound too convincing there. Yeah, he didn't convince me. What about, he didn't look like he convinced himself either.
So whether or not there's enough fuel to go to the finish is, I think so, maybe, yeah, sure, if, I think, maybe. As we get ready to go back racing. So we've weeded things out now to where there are 7 cars on the lead lap. Brendan Gaughan's the leader. Scott Gaylord is second. Mike Wallace, with some possible engine troubles, is third. Sean Woodside, who locked up the Winston West Championship earlier in the race, he runs 4th now. And Kevin Richards is 5th. Andy Houston in 6th and Eric Norris in 7th are the final cars on the lead lap. With 1 lap down, Joe Bean in 8th, Kim Jane in 9th, and Rookie of the Year leader Jason Small in 10th. It is time to go back racing.
And these restarts have been exciting. These, you can see the flagman. He's holding them back, holding them back, holding them back. Now the green comes out. They're well up onto the straightaway, and guys get aggressive on these starts.
Brendan Gaughan got aggressive.
He got gone.
I knew that was coming.
Sounded like Eli did.
Well, there's got to be a setup man in there somewhere. Got to be a setup man somewhere. Look at Steve Portengay down the bottom side off of turn 2, trying to take a shot at getting up and around Brendan Gaughan if he can. Portengay trying to get a lap back. This is not a race for the lead.
But it's a race. And the car third line there, too. Austin Cameron. Wow, he just cut Gaylord off. And going to go try to get his lap back, too. These guys, this is time to get your lap back. We're getting down late for going. Just after a pit stop.
There's Ron Barfield. Haven't talked much about him. We've talked to him a couple of times in some of our off-track features, but Barfield's just kind of been having a struggling day here in Motegi.
It looks like it might be about over, too, with the car having some trouble there on pit road right after the restart.
Supporting Gay unsuccessful, trying to get the lap back from Brendan Gaughan. Gaughan settles back into his groove, if you will, for the race lead. And Scott Gaylord, the second-place car in that red Oliver machine you see coming at you there, trying to get around the Austin Cameron car down into turn 1.
Yeah, there's Mike Wallace dropping back. I think those troubles are getting worse. We've seen 2 cars bypassing and he dropped to the bottom of the speedway. And you saw right there when he went to get back on the gas, that white car, some smoke came out of the exhaust pipe. That cannot be good.
So Mike Wallace, who has dominated, he has led 117 laps of the 145 that we've run so far. But he is in some trouble here, shy of the finish in the Coca-Cola 500 at Motegi.
It's a long way to go to have an
Scott Gaylord's second-place car has cleared some of the lap traffic now. You saw the interval between himself and race leader Brendan Gaughan, and we look back now to Mike Wallace. Where is he? There he is. Falling a long way back.
Man, that car's handled so well today. You hate to see a car right on the white line. I mean, just perfectly. Another car that's working real well as we see our champion there bypassing Austin Cameron and Eric Norris sticking his nose in there is Scott Gaylord. He's a car that looks really good. His car's right on the bottom every time we see it, too.
We look back around the corner as Woodside comes up on the Steve Portengay machine here. This should be the 3rd and 4th place race between Woodside and the 16 and Eric Norris in the 32.
Eric is he's getting with the program. Like I said, it's getting late in the race. He was 7th on the restart. He's moved up, battling with champion there, and that's another guy who's moved up tremendously. He started 18th, didn't hear anything about it for 100 miles or so until those first 2 guys were out of the race. And now he's gotten serious with it.
Till he got that championship locked up. Now you're looking at 2 races here. The first 4 cars in line, the 1st and 3rd are racing for 8th and 9th spots. The first car a lap down, and the 2nd and 4th are racing for the 3rd and 4th positions in the race. Did I confuse you there?
No, but I bet you the Japanese people are a little bit confused at this point, wondering, I bet you they think it's a 4-car battle, so.
And there's Mike Wallace, who has fallen back now to 5th position. Behind those cars racing for that group that we saw ahead of him a little earlier. And there's the race leader, Brendan Gaughan. His best finish so far in 1999 in Winston West competition, a 2nd. He's trying to get Winston. Another Such on the racetrack being soaked up there by the safety crew, and this caution flag with 33 laps to go has brought all the leaders onto the pit lane. Let's go to Stephen Cox.
Well, Alan, this represents a change in plans. This was not on the schedule for the Orleans crew. Jim Benison told me just seconds before the yellow came out, he looked at his stopwatch, looked at his paperwork, and says, we can make it. We're not going to have to stop again. But they're feeling so much pressure now from the Gaylord team that they decided we're going to come in, take right and back out with a splash of fuel.
Scott Gaylord is also in second place car. All right, I don't know if you're supposed to do this or not. That's my pick to win the race. He has been strong. Mike Wallace is gone now. I like the way that car's looked. The way this move here is just going to counteract the one that Gahn just made. They're both getting on tires. He took 4, though. If I was going to do it under caution, I darn sure want to get all 4, especially when you're giving up track positions like that. So I'm liking the 67 to win the race. Alan, who you picking? I would have picked Mike Wallace, but that's when it would have been easy. Yeah, you know, that's a good question right now. I like Sean Woodside. I like Sean. He's got the championship trophy already. He's going to get on up there and see what he can do. So Eric Norris leads. He and Woodside both took fuel only on their pit stops here, and so they'll take over the top 2 spots as we get ready for the restart. Since the race is all questions of fuel mileage and what's going to happen in that, we should be able to make it to the end of the race and just see some good green flags flat out to the finish racing. The tire situation, though, is going to be interesting here. We saw Gaylord take on 4. Eric Norris's team there chose to get fuel only. Sean Woodside's team got fuel only. Brendan Gahn sitting 3rd on the restart between Scott Gaylord and the race lead. So this is going to get kind of interesting here as we get ready to go. These restarts all day long have just been crazy. I mean, stuff's going on, people diving, moving left and right. We've seen this shift, and you can see there they already spread out. Ooh, it looks like the leader, the leader there missed the shift, too. Stacking out 4 wide behind him. Fun to watch, aren't they? This will get good down in turn 1. Puts everybody in a different line when they get to the first turn, but somehow they seem to always sort it out. We can see Eric Norris has got that thing wound up now, and he's heading back toward the front. Joe Beam gets a lap back from the race leader on the mistake in the restart. Austin Cameron gets a lap back from the race leader on the restart mistake, and they're going to go 3 wide into turn 3. Thought better of it, thankfully. Oh, look at there. 4 wide into turn 4. That was Woodside that got kicked all the way up into the marbles back there. We got somebody getting black flag. I think Brandon Ash jumped the gun on the restart there. And so he will be coming to pit road for a stop-and-go penalty. Things getting wild here in the late going in the Coca-Cola 500 at Motegi, Japan. Austin Cameron's hanging on right now, back on the lead lap. We talked about he's had a good car all day long. He's had a little bit of problem, got a lap down. He's been able to get that lap back right now. As is Joe Beam right behind him. Eric Norris is starting to put a little pressure on him, though. I don't know how long this is going to last. John Metcalf looking to see if he can get a lap back from the race leader. He's in that red and white 05 car, right behind Norris. Good battle up front. He's got the leader and 3 guys, 2 that are on the tail end of the lead lap and 1 that wants to be there. Funny how the race still comes down. You're leading the race. You got a good gap over second, but then there's 3 guys around you got to race. Here's Ash coming down pit road for the black flag, the 22-year-old from Washington State. So take him out of the cycle of things here, racing for these top positions in the final laps. Now that restart, when someone misses a shift and you move early to get out of the way of hitting the guy in front of you, you kind of hope NASCAR sees that and realizes you didn't do it on purpose, you just did it to keep from running the guy over. Maybe that's what happened here. Here comes the race leader again. Maybe not. You see, I'm on his side. There you go. Oh, there's Andy Houston in trouble in the Speed Vision car. Smoke out the back of the machine there. So Houston is off the pace. And about to experience that same feeling Mike Wallace did halfway around the world just to not finish. The RPM difference on this track has just got to be tremendous. 400 or 500 RPMs if you're not shifting. So, probably his engine over-revved on the front straightaway and then finally expired. Almost made it, though. The leader is the 32 car there, Eric Norris. Then the lap car of John Metcalf. Then second place, Brendan Gahn. And third place, Kevin Richards. Yeah, we've talked about him, but maybe once all race long so far. And you can see the tire differential we spoke of. Eric Norris stayed out, and Brendan Gahn came in and got some, and right now it's working fine for Norris. Goodyear brought a great tire to Japan. 77 is Joe Beam, tail end of the lead lap, just in front of Eric Norris. as they come off of turn 4 down to the start-finish line, and the laps are beginning to run out in this race.
And right now, Brendan Don is cheering for Joe Beam. He says, stay up there, buddy. Let's make sure we hold that 32 up to where I can get there and race with you.
Now, the other car in this mix is Scott Gaylord. He took the 4 tires on the pit stop a little while ago, and right about, 4 or 5 laps in, Shadil and those tires start to become somewhat of an advantage for him.
Yeah, you would think so. Eric Norris's tires were up to pressure, so when they threw the green flag, he was ready to roll. The guys lowered the tire pressure so that as they build up, they don't have too much air in them, and they had to deal with that for 10 or 15 laps. They don't really get the optimum operating pressures until they run 10 or 15 laps. So we're starting to see probably a move from Gaylord, the guy that I think is going to win the race.
Optimum operating pressure.
Yeah, good. I learned that type of talk on our show we have every Monday night. I hear you guys saying that type of stuff. If I've learned anything, it's been how to talk. That's about it.
There you go. So we keep an eye on the race leader, trying to deal with the car on the tail end of the lead lap, Joe Beam. And farther behind him, things are beginning to tighten up for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th positions. Norris leads off turn 4. Oh, off the wall. Brendan Gaughan has bounced off the outside wall off turn 4 just as they come to the stripe with 10 laps to go.
Scott Gaylord creeping up on the outside of him.
Into the back bumper of him.
And again,
pushing him through turn 2.
And again, Steve Portengate decided he would pass him.
So Gaylord now racing Brendan Gaughan side by side down the back straightaway into turn number 3.
As they came off turn 4 that last time, the flagman had 10 to go. 10 fingers held down over the track.
Oh, look out, contact. Gaylord spins around in turn 4 into the outside wall. Caution is on the speedway. Brendan Gaughan put the little retaliatory tap to the back bumper of Scott Gaylord. But Gaylord broke loose and has crashed into the outside wall, and the caution is on the speedway just inside of 10 laps to go.
Watch this whole lap. There's Gaughan off 4 into the wall. Now Portengate is right behind him. He's a lap car, the white car, and Gaylord tries to come around the outside. Well, Brendan went ahead and shot her down into turn 1 and made a good run through there, but then Scott gets behind him and starts pushing him off too. Now watch Portengate. He just hooks the left and passes them both. And then when Gaylord went to go by Brendan, I guess he wasn't too pleased with the effort that he made to pass him coming off turn 1, because when they get down in turn 3 here, it looks like he uses more shot in the back end. You can see it here.
There it is. And that's all it took. Traction broken, and the outside wall comes up quick for Scott Gaylord. So caution is on the speedway with 9 laps to go in this race. In turn 4, a mess. Fortunately, you see Scott Gaylord climbing from his machine. He cannot be happy, though.
No, he can't. And I'm not happy either. I thought that's who was going to win the race, remember?
Yes, you did. Red flag is out to try and clean things up and get this one finished under the green. So we'll take a break here and come back with the conclusion of the Coca-Cola 500. Back and towed away. The accident scene in turn number 4. Mike Waltrip's pick to win the Coca-Cola 500. And here's what happened. The whole sequence that started when Brendan Gaughan hit the wall off turn 4.
Yeah, he came off high. It's easy to do in 4 and got into the wall. You would think he would just be a dead duck here, you know, but look at him run down in turn 1. He makes a good run in there. Gaylord, instead of running on the outside of him, tries to squeeze under him. He wasn't able to do so. You can see Portengate. There was room to do it. And Portengate made a run, and they're past them both. And evidently, at this point, Brendan Gaughan is upset.
You think?
I didn't think so, honestly, until they got to this point. And then I decided he was.
A little tap there on the back bumper of Gaylord's machine.
And it is so easy at that point, Alan, to spin a car out. You know, that any tap there at all in your history. And we can see Scott Gaylord wound up in the outside retaining wall, and Brendan Gaughan had really no damage from it.
The red flag put out by NASCAR to try and clean up and let this race finish under green. There are 6 laps to go in the event at the point of the red flag. And so with the cleanup just about complete, they're going to get back racing here. One thing that is being done is the NASCAR officials have decided to put Brendan Gaughan back to the last car on the lead lap. That is Walker Evans there. I believe that's Walker up on top of the pit box there, being informed by one of the NASCAR officials that his car will have to go to last on the lead lap because of rough driving. Now, that only puts him back to 5th in line. There's only a handful of laps left. That's going to be tough to overcome.
Remember on the restart line. That's right. He's up to. Well, he'll probably still be fifth. This car was right behind Norris when he didn't get a good start and ran into him. So we've seen these restarts really play havoc with this crew all day long. You like to see this, what NASCAR's doing here. It was going to take them a while to make sure that they could get the track cleaned up the way it needed to be, get Scott Gaylord out of the race car and make sure he was okay. They put the thing under red so we could see some good green flag racing right here to the finish. And I mean, at this point, who knows who's going to win this crazy race? Everybody that's on the lead lap seems like they're having problems and getting exciting.
Here's a look at that restart. Watch the black car on the left, the smoke come out the exhaust pipes right there.
And the blue car behind him, number 16, Sean Woodside, got into the back of Eric Norris, and everybody else bailed out. Yeah, and one guy got penalized for that, and that's like I said earlier, you know, sometimes on those restarts when somebody misses a shift, it's real hard to assess blame and decide whose fault it was if you got out of line.
So, we're going to try and settle this thing under the green flag. They are coming around to the restart. It is Eric Norris who is leading. There you see him. Second place is now Kevin Richards. Start back in 17th spot. There's Austin Cameron. He was on the tail end of the lead lap until the caution wave. And now there's Brendan Gaughan, who will make up the rest of the lead lap cars as Sean Woodside gets to move around him and into position.
Now remember, we're going to have the 10-lap rule here. The cars will be single file on this restart. Maybe we'll have a little cleaner restart with them lined up nose to tail instead of side to side. And another thing to think about, Kevin Richards started this weekend off by crashing. He's just like Mike Skinner did a year ago. He went out first couple of laps on the track and ran into the wall. You know what happened to Skinner when the weekend was over? He was sitting in victory lane. So maybe this would be a good pick for the win. A sentimental favorite.
4 laps to go. Here comes the restart.
It doesn't look clean to me. Look at him stacking up behind the leader.
Norris does not get a good jump. Here comes Kevin Richards to his inside. He puts the block on Cameron to the outside. Double wide for the race lead into turn 1 with 4 to go.
Wow, what a start. Norris looked in his mirror and saw Cameron coming on the outside. He moved over to box him, and Kevin Richards shot through on the inside.
Kevin Richards goes to the lead on a late restart. Now they're double wide for second, which is not going to help either one of them try and catch up to Richards.
We saw this car, Austin Cameron, a little while ago, a lap down. He got his lap back, and now he's battling for second. Side to side off 4, though, as Kevin Richards kind of looking in his mirror and licking his chops. He said, come on, guys, keep that up. Keep praising each other. I'll have me a nice little cruise to the victory here.
Still side by side. Cameron inside. Norris to the outside. Oh, big slip there in turn 2 for Norris, and Cameron goes by to second. Oh, off the wall in the corner. John Metcalf's car into the outside wall in turn number 2. Caution will come out. The caution will come out as Kevin Richards tries to come back around to the start-finish line. Here comes Austin Cameron trying to get back to the yellow flag before him. Oh, Richards to the stripe first.
That's the race for the victory right there, too. What an exciting end to a race.
Kevin Richards got the jump on Eric Norris on a restart with 4 laps to go. He beats Austin Cameron to the caution flag here with just a couple of laps to go. And I don't believe they're going to be able to get this one restarted with the late nature of this caution flag. They put the red out to try and get the track cleaned up, but it doesn't look like it's going to end up in a green flag finish anyway. As Kevin Richards' crew looks on, kind of wanting to know what's going to happen themselves.
I can promise you one thing. Kevin Richards, I bet you he's pretty pleased to see the white flag dropping right now because I really think that Austin Cameron had the fastest car at the end of the race. They were racing side by side, he and Eric Norris, but yet they were able to still track Kevin Richards. And he held them off because of the battle that they had. Look at the excitement of the crew.
Victory will be theirs if they can follow the pace car around just one more lap. Kevin Richards, a 37-year-old from Spokane, Washington, former NASCAR Northwest Tour champion crew chief. In his second season in the Winston West Circuit, he scored victories earlier this year in Monroe, Washington, and at Las Vegas. And as Michael talked about earlier, crashed this car in practice on Thursday. Now he's going to wind up in victory lane here on race day.
Well, one thing's for sure, if you're racing Motegi next year, you need to go out the first lap on the track and hit the wall. That's what the last two winners of this event have done. Skinner last year, Richards this year, and if he can make it back, and let's not assume anything, Alan, because the way this is going, the way this thing is finished up, who knows what might happen. Let's get him back to the start-finish line, then we'll open the champagne.
Austin Cameron will hold on to second spot in the Winston West Series Championship standings. He came back from a lap down after a problem early in the race, a flat tire. Then he lost third gear at lap 40. He made a lap up on a late caution, came back through the pack, but was not able to get around Kevin Richards when this race was shortened by another late caution flag in its final lap. Here he comes down to the checkered flag, his third NASCAR Winston West Series win, the Coca-Cola 500 in Motegi, Japan, to Kevin Richards of Spokane, Washington. Now, that's a much better feeling than Mike Wallace and company had for going halfway around the world, wouldn't you think? Oh, that's the best. You see some damage on the car. That was from the wreck early in the race. And then, like we talked about the wreck on Thursday, and then now he's in victory lane. How great is that? We will talk with the winner in just a minute. The Coca-Cola 500 in Motegi is over. Kevin Richards is your winner. It was a wild finish to a wild race. Check out the final restart with 4 to go. Watch these boys. They get all bundled up because Norris missed the shift, and then he gets on the gas. But here comes Richards to the inside, Cameron to the outside. Norris decides he's going to block Cameron to the right, which opened the door for Richards to take the lead. They head down into turn 1. Norris tries to hang on the outside, but Richards' car was good enough to stick at the bottom. Kind of moves up the hill a little bit there. Norris slips, and here comes Cameron side by side. And once those two guys got side by side, Richards was looking in the mirror, licking his chops, thinking victory's mine if they'll just stay that way. So 2 celebrations to be had, the race win and the championship as well, as you look at Kevin Richards working his way around the speedway, saluting the crowd at Twin Ring Motegi, and Sean Woodside as well to celebrate. After locking up the NASCAR Winston West Championship, he needed to finish 28 or better. 2 cars went out on the first 18 laps, so he is celebrating as well here at race's end. There's the celebration there. I wasn't kidding. Some donuts there for Sean Woodside as the beaten and banged Napa machine begins to head toward the championship celebration as well. You going to do it again here for the other end of the grandstand? You think you can pull out some more donuts? Look at his championship car. It's tore all to pieces. He's got every end off of it. They're going to get that back out of the container after it's shipped home from Japan and say, what happened to this? You mean to tell me you won a championship in this thing? But what do you think about that donut on a 1 to 10? About a 6? Don't hit the wall or it gets considerably worse. Now, he needs to brush up on the victory donuts a little bit. But hey, it's his first championship. We'll give him some credit for there. Talked about the beaten-up state of that car. He has had a wild day, and it started early. I mean, he started 18th in the field. Qualifying didn't go particularly well. Didn't move up any, and everybody was wondering what was going on with that car. He's usually a guy that's right at the front of the field, but once he got his championship locked down on the lap 18 or so, when those 2 cars fell out, he was strong after that. Sean Woodside with 2 wins in 1999 at Tucson and at Mesa-Loon Raceway in Bakersfield, the race before this one. Second in Winston West points the last 2 seasons, but the champion this year. And in victory lane, Kevin Richards is flying from the car. Richards coming from well deep in the field in 17th starting spot in a car that he crashed here in practice a few days ago, but he will wind up his trip to Japan in victory lane. Stephen Cox is with our race winner down in victory lane, celebrating the win in the Coca-Cola 500. Stephen.
Kevin Richards, a big congratulations, number 3 this year. But man alive, tell me about that restart.
We just had the right transmission, and we had a ton of motor in this thing. And I'll tell you what, air chased me clean. We shouldn't have won this race today. We didn't have the best car. These guys worked their butts off. I mean, you could see on their car, we hit the wall in practice the first day. And I got to thank everybody at Monaco Enterprises, Penske Shocks. Congratulations, Sean.
Hey, we know you really never were where you wanted to be in practice or qualifying. Where did this come from?
It came from all these guys behind me working their butts off, man. I just said, this thing's too tight. It can't turn it, can't turn it. And they kept adjusting on it. And here we are.
in victory lane. At Motegi is Kevin Richards. He scores the victory. There you see the result. Sean Woodside winding up with a 5th place finish to cap his championship year. Joe Bean wound up back in 7th spot. A disappointing finish there as he had tried to wrestle seconded points away from Austin Cameron. A little deeper into the field, you will see Mike Wallace, the man who dominated this race all day long, led 117 of the 201 laps, but winds up finishing in 19th spot. And our man Tushia, after going out of the race with his engine problems, he'll wind up finishing in 22nd position for Keiichi. Top 15 finish there for Hideo Fukuyama, right? There's Tushia, back in 22nd, the Japanese driver. And Orita, one of the Japanese drivers with the lap 3 crash, first out of the race, he finished in 30th position. So that's the way that they ran in the Coca-Cola 500 at Twin Ring Motegi. The NASCAR Winston West Series race won by Kevin Richards of Spokane, Washington, being paraded around the racetrack. Yes, that is a correct shot. The driver is on the right side of that machine. And there's our champion, Sean Woodside. We'll talk to him when we come back in a minute. At Twin Ring Motegi with Kevin Richards getting the winner's wreath, laurels. What do they call those? Laurels? Laurels. Thank you. And the trophy and the champagne and all the rest after scoring the victory. Final championship standings, the Winston West Series 1999. Sean Woodside is the champion. Look how tight things are the rest of the way back through the top 5. Stephen Cox right now is with Sean Woodside, the new champ.
Well, I'm still sopping wet from the victory celebration with Kevin over there, and your car is worse for the wear as well. But you did what you came to do today. That's the big thing.
Yeah, for a while there, it looked like we had a shot at winning the race. I got to thank Mike Wallace and Jimmy Smith and all those guys. They kept us on the lead lap, and Mike gave me a lot of good advice this weekend. And I got to thank our whole Napa Auto Parts, Martin Senior, Automotive Finishes, and everybody on the crew just did a great job.
You know, not to take anything away from a wonderful day for you, but it seemed to slip away in the last 15 laps or so. What happened? Did the car slow down with the front end damage?
Yeah, I don't know if Norris missed the shift there on the restart, but or he just couldn't shift, or something was up with him, because on every restart, everybody about ran him over, and I already had the thing second gear at 9,000, and he stopped and wrecked the front of the car, and I think that pretty much cost us a shot at it. 67 car and 20 car was very strong. But, you know, they got tangled up themselves. But Kevin Richards won a race. We won the championship. It doesn't get much better than this.
Congratulations. Nobody can take it away now.
Thanks. I got to thank NASCAR and Winston and everybody for taking us to Japan this year.
Runner-up in points for 2 years straight, the champion now. And today's race winner with the champagne. That's something we usually see in a Formula 1 race here on Speed Vision. Oh, man, they do victory lane ride up in Japan. Got the wreath, the girls, the champagne. It's all there. Not bad. So Kevin Richards finds his payoff worthwhile, some $84,000 for making the trip across the ocean to Twin Ring Motegi. It was a wild day, some controversy too, and late race bumping and banging, shuffling up the finishing order. But in the end, it was Spokane, Washington driver Kevin Richards who took the checkered flag and scored the running of the Coca-Cola 500, the first NASCAR championship decided outside of North America. For Stephen Cox and Michael Waltrip, Alan Westbrook saying thanks for watching. We'll talk to you again real soon.